My stepfather had put his hands on my mother, and I was 9 years old, and I just had enough. And I took a baseball bat to him when he got off work. When I got out of prison, I made myself this rule. It was a vow, as you might call it. If someone challenges me to do something and I say no out of fear, now I'm going to sit here in this feeling and misery and extract value. And until I extract the lesson of value from this, I will not move on from it. And I snapped, and I hurt the guy who hurt him really bad. And I'm just grateful he didn't die. ADHD, like 60 different thoughts. I have like 200 plus. Everybody should find a purpose to pursue, but there's something even more important, and that's a why. Because the why is what shows up when you don't want to show up. I've been blown up 17 times. The highest form of self-love is having integrity for your future self while you're in the present.
Welcome to the Stay Hungry podcast, a show where we bring on great people and hear their story. Today we have Art Stewart with us for today. I've now known you, I think, for about 6 months, right? Give or take?
Correct. 6 months, Matthew.
And you have like a full life.
Yes.
Most people have like a little like snippet here or here, but you have lived in different directions. So for those who don't know you, what do you do currently with like your career, your hobbies, like who you are personally, like right now?
Right now, currently, I'm going to school for, finished up my bachelor's and pursuing a master's for counseling, target-focused convicts and combat veterans like myself. I'm also about to knock out this month alone for my peer support to go work for the VA as a peer support counselor as I go to school. I also do personal training, and I have a service dog I'm also training. I also do volunteer work, do Toastmasters where I met you, and other endeavors.
And dance. You are so busy. I don't know how you do it, man. Because you're balancing the school, the dancing, the VA work, Toastmasters. It's like jam-packed constantly.
That's funny is I was just talking with somebody a little bit ago about how busy because I see her weekly, and yes, like I do competitive ballroom dance. Never planned on doing it. It just kind of happened, and that's the fun thing about life. But I love it, and I love the lessons it has taught me.
Because you wouldn't think, because you have like the tattoos, you're jacked, you have tons of muscle. First, like it looks at you, you wouldn't think, oh, he does like ballroom dancing. You think, oh, he's like a big gym rat, which you are, but more like that category, not dancing and all that jazz.
And I specialize in Latin dancing, so salsa and bachata, I love. Don't get me wrong, tango is my jam, but I do waltz, foxtrot, paso doble, swing.
I tried one semester of the whole Latin dancing, and it's tough. It looks easier, I think, on paper, maybe, like doing like the different turns and the hips. It's just, I'm just like too white, I think, in my opinion, a little bit there.
If you only saw me when I first started, when I got out of prison, oh my goodness. And people ask me, how did you get in competitive ballroom dancing? Well, when I got out of prison, I made myself this rule. It was a vow, as you might call it. Because fear has ruled my life many different times, I'm sure other people can relate, and if someone challenges me to do something and I say no out of fear, now I have to do it. As long as it doesn't mess with my program of being a better person or what I'm pursuing, now I have to experience it, and then I make a decision to how to go forward. But I have to experience it. So I got out of prison, I wanted to learn how to dance. I listened to Lewis Howes on School of Greatness, and he talked about salsa dancing. I remember sitting in there in a prison cell going, why didn't I ever learn how to dance? Just that question. Well, I got a bucket list. Okay, those are things to learn. When I got out, and I started investigating, and they had it over at Mesa Community College. And I sign up, and Mariana, my dance instructor, says she doesn't know how the lineup happened like this, because that salsa class, everybody had been dancing at least 8 years.
Really?
And then you have me, who never danced a day in his life.
And that was your class? Wow.
And then it gets even better. I see she has a ballroom dance class earlier. I'm like, oh, I just need more exposure. There, everybody's been dancing at least 3 years, and there's 2 open golds there, competitive ballroom dancers there. And again, it's just, then there's me.
Black sheep of the family here for dancing.
And there's one thing about me is I'm very tenacious and I have a lot of grit.
Yes.
I call it a fight. Like we're just gonna buckle down and we're gonna fight this out. Whatever the task is, it's gonna be a fight. And so I started practicing it out. Like you imagine me at the gym, in between the sets, I'm practicing basics like salsa routines.
You were at the gym. Doing like your dance moves there. No, like strange looks. People are like,
it started out there. Now it's gotten to the point where they're just like, it's just Art doing his thing.
Because your gym's pretty nice. It's Gold's gym, right? So you have like, the upper class.
It's diesel muscle, competitive ball.
Compared to my basic gym, you guys have like new standards. Right,
so this is it's competitive private gym, diesel muscle out of Tempe, and that's meant for bodybuilding.
So you start dancing. It was like a very easy thing for you. Like you were like a natural.
No,
you were like starting off.
Like they have talked about like how bad I was. Like they even talked about like how bad I was, and which is funny now because now they'll talk about my hip movements. Like, oh wow, you can move, and I'm all just. It's been a progression, and so we fast forward. So we started in August. The class was August 26th, and in December we had the recital, right? And we did the recital. I practiced, danced, and everything else. And I'm like, I didn't get this dance down right. Okay, I'm going to sign up to do ballroom dance at the back-to-back class again for next semester.
Oh, gosh.
And I haven't got this down right. Well, Mariana looks at me and she says, hey, I was looking at the recital. You did excellent. Out of everybody there and all their experience, you didn't mess up at all. You did good well under pressure. You should do a competition. And I was all, hell no. I said a lot more other words, cussing and swearing. And I stopped and I thought about my promise. And I was like, is there at least lifts? She's like, you got to get to a certain dance level at that. Okay. Well, when is it? May? Okay. Next week, she follows up, hey, by the way, mind you, it's January, there's a competition in February.
That soon?
What? Hell no. What is it? Because I just started saying no again out of impulse. Okay, let's do it. And I'll never forget my first dance. So when I was in combat in Iraq and so on, I love adrenaline. That's always been, and this taught me something so valuable. Is my mind goes very, very fast, and the thing about adrenaline is it slows it down to one single thought. I love that. And so when I started dancing, all eyes on me, and that this counts. I remember that pressure, and it slowed down to one single thought. It's just me and her dancing. And then I got to start moving and listening to the music, start enjoying and laughing. And I was like, oh my goodness. I used to think it was adrenaline was my drug of choice. Now I realize it's pressure. And that's one of the great things about dance. It's taught me that, and also like people know military muscle memory, do it 10,000 times before you get it right. Now, as you learn like with Toastmasters, you mess up, keep going.
Exactly.
Same thing with dance. Choreographing is messed up. No one knows but you. Just keep going. They're going to notice more if you freeze.
I think your gift is knowing how to do pressure. With like dance, the gym, Toastmasters, your VA work, you know how to handle like that pressure, that stress. So basically, I think you're slightly crazy, like in a good human way of being crazy.
Right.
Let's take it back to your childhood of like the 6-year-old Art back in the day. Were you always this like driven and crazy and just, like getting after it, or where did this come from for Art?
Well, I grew up a bastard. I know. It's terminology. I didn't have a father. I had a mother married out of wedlock, and she married my stepfather when I was 5, and I was the redheaded stepchild. Like I wasn't his kid, and bless them, my grandparents helped raise me, and I had amazing role models because of them. So I learned what a real man should look like and treat his wife and so on. So I'm watching this dynamic, how my mother's being treated by my stepfather, and it's just a lot of volatile atmosphere. And in doing so, it made me I had to grow up a lot. And I had the thing about it is, at the time, there was a lot of toxicity and it made me very bitter. And now looking back, I'm so grateful for some of that, because when do you grow? It's only in the struggle. Name one time in your life you grown when you were comfortable and how everything was going great. You don't.
Yeah.
It's only when you're struggling. And as those toxic things or bad things were happening, I learned pressure. I learned I didn't get proper things. Like, now I can eat anything. Like, because I grew up on powdered eggs.
Wow.
And dehydrated milk.
Both are gross.
Uh-huh.
But right now you're strong and confident, but that little kid probably had no tools to handle all the stress.
No, it was very, very bitter. It was very alone. Couldn't make friends. It didn't have any of those things. So that perpetuated a very vicious cycle. And as growing up, me and my stepfather were fist fighting. And I can go into the tidbits here and there, but one event sums it up. My stepfather had put his hands on my mother, and I was 9 years old. And I just had enough. I was like, how am I supposed to take on some 35-year-old man? Like, I'm a kid, but I'm having an adult conversation. I'm like, how do I handle this? So I know his patterns, and I took a baseball bat to him when he got off work. He went in the hospital, and I remember the cops coming and so on. And the cops go, they can't live together. They got to be separated. Because they asked me, like, would you do it again? Absolutely. He beat my mom.
Of course. You have to.
And so, like, I was feeling very in the right. And they're like, they can't live together. And I'll never forget, my mom looked at me, and she says, he can go.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
And that was a great opportunity in its own right, because I started living with my grandparents a lot more. I'd still come back to my parents, my mother and stepfather, and because my little brother is trying, but my best times I was learning with my grandparents. Like, my grandparents, Great Depression babies, self-made millionaires, but everything was earned. So, like, at 8 years old on, I was working at the cattle ranch.
Really?
Uh-huh. My family was working with the men.
Wow.
And 16-hour days. And that'd pay for the next school year and so on. And it was just good. I always tell my Uncle Jimmy and my grandpa, so thank you so much for teaching me how to work. Because there was no complaining about it. Stuff needed to get done.
And from what you've told me, he changed your life in that way because he had those values.
Absolutely. Like, Grandpa taught me so many different lessons. Oh, man. I have this little memoir book I was writing for prison of different things he'd tell me. And, like, I'll never forget, he'd purposely give me a $100 bill, and then he'd watch me spend it. And then he'd be like, why'd you spend it? It's not heavy. What can you do with that?
Smart man.
Like,
some wit to him.
That's funny. But I'd see the same man drop tons of money to help somebody and not blink an eye. But he'd lecture you for spending it for going to the arcade or something, or not just being instant gratification.
Right.
But delayed gratification or being of service with your money, absolutely. And so I was always so grateful for him to watch my grandparents be role models in that way. I'm so grateful. Because if I didn't have them, oh, man.
No telling, right?
Oh, I'd definitely been in prison by 18.
And then how was, like, your high school years?
Well...
Because you change a lot, right? You're growing up, puberty, just life
and
happens.
I was at my grandparents' thriving. I went from a CD student to honor roll.
Oh, when you moved to their place.
It was like, you gotta think, I went from, like, struggling in school to straight honor roll.
Really?
So, like, I had this great foundation that way. And because they established pride in oneself. And my grandma, dear, she had this great, oh man, the psychology factor of this is so powerful. Because I loved them so much, I want to make them proud. Before I'd head off to school, she'd ask me, hey, Arthur, I love you, Grandma, dear. Well, before you head off, don't forget that you don't only represent yourself, you represent us. And you love us, right?
Ooh.
Uh-huh.
Ooh, that's good.
Uh-huh. So there was plenty of times being a teenager, I'm about to act disrespectful, run amok, or anything else, and I think about those words, because it was every day she'd say this before heading out. Or if I was going to do something naughty or anything else, I was not getting caught. There was a contingency plan and everything else. And I was training for football because I was doing football and wrestling. And I was going into my sophomore year, and I got injured at Westwood.
Ooh.
I had a 35-pound dumbbell dropped on my head.
Were you good? That's a lot of weight on your head.
There was a jealous kid on the team who dropped it on my head.
Wow.
You can feel it here. There's actually indentation still. Should have killed me. And I had to learn how to read, write, short-term memory, all of it gone.
16?
15.
That's tough because at that age, you're trying to be popular, make friends, be like belong to like the culture.
And I was popular, you know. And
So how was that for you to go from popular to it's a different way of living?
well, worse yet, I had lost, because of brain functioning, I lost all impulse control.
Which at that age is already bad enough. It's gonna create some problems.
So at that time, I literally did not have, and on top of that, my grandparents can't handle me, unfortunately. Bless them. So I had to go back to my mother's.
Oh, so you moved from your grandparents back to your mother's at that age.
That's
tough, because then your friends at high school, they're all gone then.
So I'm dealing with all this, dealing with the brain injuries. And so best way to describe it, I went from very active in church and so on, doing the great things, to mad at God. Like, I was mad. Like, how dare he? And I just started making bad choices, got in bad crowds, drugs, I can go on and on. And thankfully I was able to get out of all that mess. And I remember I was staying with I moved back to my grandparents a little bit. I was older. And during this time frame, though, I remember they always told me, hey, you can always get some of your brain functioning back. Because I had to learn how to do math. Short-term memory of 20-minute conversation, wouldn't remember it.
Really?
I can remember childhood stuff, but not short-term memory, because that wasn't processing. So I had to, when I was doing English, I had to eat an apple. Doing math, eating an orange. Using taste. And because of this, though, my left frontal temporal lobe was all brain dead.
Really? So you had to retrain all of it.
And I was one of the, now you hear about brain plasticity, right?
Right.
Okay. I was one of the thesis concepts for that. Because my left temporal lobe started regenerating.
Can you go more into that?
So I went from brain damage to back on track and graduating only a year behind.
That's very fast change. Usually you think it'd take like a decade.
That's what they said. It would take a decade or so, 5-10 years to graduate.
Think that.
And the only thing is, I call it the fight. Because even then, I was like, I remember, I always tell people, imagine you used to have an arm. And they say they're going to give you a new fake arm. Or you just have to work really hard, but you can have that arm back. So I started studying so much hard. I learned how to do different things. I used to do, now I can go one arm this way, go the opposite, go back, and so on. And different mechanics, brains, memory, puzzles, doing that whole process. And yeah, by 17, I was finishing up, and I was there like, wow, you're back good.
Yeah.
And so I moved back with my grandparents. Life's going great this way. And I started slipping and making bad decisions again. Some of those bad things started catching back up with me. And I remember making a pivot, like, how do I make a hard change? And I thought about what things I've lost, and I always wanted to go to the Army. I thought about, I want to go to the Army. The best thing to do is change people, places, things. I've always heard this before, and I was like, you know what I'm going to do? And I want family camaraderie, because I never really had the family. So let's do that. So I went in the Army. And my first choice was the Marines. Marines go, for the good of the Marines, we place you. And I'm like, no, I want combat. You
wanted combat. Like brand new, you just want to get out there.
I wanted hell. And I tell people, be careful what you wish for.
Why did you want hell? Because you wanted that friendship and that family.
But
the hell too.
Because as I was growing up, I always talked to veterans and stuff, and they told me about how you don't know who you are until you're in a bad situation. That's where your true self comes out. Mm-hmm. And I remember, I wonder what my true self is.
Huh. You think it'd be found in hell?
Uh-huh. Well, remember, I'm 18-year-old kid. But I remember always reflecting. I was like, I'm already starting to make bad decisions in crowds and everything. I'm like, I need to change. Okay, I want to know who the heck I am. Really know, like, what's underneath the hood? How do I do this? Okay, this lines with everything else I want to do. It helps with college, all this other stuff. Okay, let's do it. Army goes, okay, let's give you this. Do you want to play with explosives too? I tell people, be careful what you wish for, because I'm like, all right. So I was going in Iraq doing route clearance. Do you know what route clearance is?
I'm going to guess you're clearing out the route so it's safe for the future troops.
For IEDs. You remember what IEDs are? Improvised explosive devices.
So you're trying to like scan the area if it's safe.
For explosives.
Okay.
So when I was in Iraq, I have 2.5 years of combat time. I did an 18-month tour and a 1-year tour. And when I was there, altogether, been blown up 17 times.
The place was?
My vehicle was blown up.
Your vehicle. They're pretty strong vehicles? Or can they
yes.
that quite a bit from your like...
So the insurgents learned they can't penetrate the vehicle. They can sometimes. It takes a certain enough oomph.
Right.
But they can still mess up the soldiers by giving it enough push, inertia. Mm-hmm. So they put it like, for the one that gave me my Purple Heart, I had a 500-pound HME, homemade explosives, bomb go off underneath my vehicle, which hemorrhaged my brain. So the thing about it is, if I had known what I was doing going into choosing my job choice of route clearance, knowing my already head traumas, I would have chose a different profession.
Now you're just like adding in that way.
But here's the best thing about it, though. I had that hemorrhage in the brain when I was in Iraq. I already knew how to deal with traumatic brain injury because I was a teenager. Mm-hmm. And all it did was help me in its own way.
You think so?
Absolutely. Like, when I got back stateside, I had a neuropsych test, and I was like, hey, I got sped up. I'm like, I'm having issues. That's why I talk extra fast in my mind. They're like, oh, you got sped up. Congratulations. It's a blessing. I'm like, this isn't a blessing. I got, like, the best way to describe it is, instead of, like, an ADHD, like, 60 different thoughts, I have, like, 200 plus. That's not including when I'm excited.
Which means you're going faster than most people are, but you're going faster. So the curse and blessing of that.
And just trying to do day-to-day life. And I'm like, can we dumb me down? Like, no. There's a probability of, that's why she called it a lottery. When you get blown up, with ADHD, they found with brain plasticity, you might get sped up.
Interesting.
Never news to me, and afterwards investigating, found out the validity of it. And I'm like, oh.
So, like, in what ways has been like a gift for you in that?
Well, that was the thing about being a childhood. It taught me those things. That's one of those things I always talk about, growth and struggle. All those traumas as a kid, like I learned to read micro expressions. I learned to read the environment, the room, what's going on, empathize. Like, oh, that person's bothered. I wonder what's going on. Oh, they have this reaction. What's going, like, situationally aware of all the little details. And that's from growing up from a hostile childhood. They used the brain injury from as a kid. That was the perfect time at that age group time, you think. So now as a 24, at that time, other veterans don't know how to deal with it. And I already know how to do it. I'm like, all right, I need to do brain games. I need to do this. And I'm already able to get more functional with it. It's one of those make adjustments, not excuses.
Did you go back home post at the injury, or do you like stay out there?
Oh no, I was.
Really? Was that different because you're still like adjusting brain-wise, and you're still out there in combat, correct?
Yeah. So you stay in the FOB. So they have FOBs and COBs, forward operating bases and combat operating bases, small little places where you can sleep and choose and so on. And they go when they do this. So you get states of, when I got injured, though, I couldn't leave go back out of combat. I had to wait for a while. Then I had to get cleared, and yeah, it's that whole process. Like, so you still have to be a soldier, but just doing logistics. Like, you're helping with supply, you're helping with other ways.
So most people here have not gone out there for combat.
Right.
What do we not know about it? Because it sounds scary in my view, but maybe it's not as scary, or maybe it's more scary. Like, how do people think about it, you think, that don't know about war?
Well, you ever been in a car accident?
No.
Okay.
I've had a pretty easy life.
Okay.
I can imagine car accidents suck.
Okay, let's use a car accident for other people who don't understand. You're driving your normal route, whatever, and you have other people being stupid. You get a car accident, and it's a bad one. Like, you got T-boned. But you're okay enough, you still got to function. How do you handle it? Do you remember to go get their personal information, call the police, check for if everybody's okay, situationally aware? Now, that happens compounding over and over again. That's combat. That's the best way to describe it.
Well, plus, you're watching people that you love in the car accident.
But you still got to be aware. A lot of people, I've seen people recently in the last year get in a car accident, and they didn't even know to get personal information. They're all like, hey, you should go to the hospital. You get this information here. You want to get, like, doing a situational report, like, this is what happened and so on, jog this all down, what you do. And people are like, where'd you learn that? I'm like, oh, it's the Army.
Well, because you're calm for the pressure, because all of us are freaking out.
And that's the best way to describe the combat, is that you have those over and over and over again. So it makes you very aware of the situation.
Watching, should they join the Army, you think?
Absolutely.
You think so?
I think it's a great opportunity. But I always tell people that the Army is out for its own good. It's a corporation. The government's out for its own good in its own way. So it's up to you to use the resources they have to get the best out of it for yourself. They have school, you have education, networking, they have classes. I see people, instead, they go watch play video games and watch TV instead of using the resources for schooling and everything else. Or they have gyms all over the place. I can go on. There's lots of resources. It's just people don't use it. So it is what you make of it.
Because you're always studying new stuff.
So it's one of those things, like the Army is one of those things that's a great tool, but it always gets what it needs. It always comes out on top.
Right.
But it's up to you to get the best out of the situation.
And on the note of studying, you're like a master of, like, psychology, people, humans. Do you have, like, your hot take, or what should people know about psychology from your point of view?
Psychology, in my point of view.
Or just what you've learned that's helped you in your own personal life, or your study.
Well, let's see. I've learned so much on psychology. Let's see. Like, so last semester I did 29 credit hours of college.
Which is crazy, by the way. Don't know how you do it.
I have its own anxiety afterwards. There was a decompression afterwards.
I imagine.
There was a...
Which is human, by the way.
that was I won't do that again. But I was doing that for a reason. GI Bills, use it or lose it, and they'll pay as much schooling as you cover, but you have to pay it back if you fail.
But it's not time-based, though, right? So
it's a time-based of, like, I have 6 months or 2 years of whatever that GI Bill.
Oh, so it's not like semester-based, it's time-based?
Yeah, so 2 years of how many credits. So you can have only 2 years of education they'll pay for. They'll give you a housing stipend and everything else. So how much education you get out of it is up to you. Back to that resource, it is up to you what you get out of it. So if I choose to only get an associate's on it, that's my choice.
So you're going for your master's currently, and is it psychology?
Yes, for counseling, target focus.
So you're probably getting very deep into, like, the brain of how humans are very complicated, and why we do things, our motive, feelings.
You know, we are very complicated in our experiences, and I think the most complicated thing about it is the way, if you and I both experience the same thing, what we get out of it and what we see is completely different. And being mindful of that when you interact with other people is very powerful, when you can be very mindful. And what comes to mind is a quote from Dr. Conte. So you've heard the phrase, he talks about if you walked a mile in somebody's shoes, not the proverbial shoes, but have their same emotional intelligence, actual intelligence, and every single situation exposure as them, you'd be in the exact same situation of life choices.
So if you had their belief systems and how they see
Experiences,
the world,
everything, emotional intelligence, and that being the case, when you understand that, you have a certain level of empathy going, oh, because it's really easy to go, oh, I would do something different, or I would do this, and they're stupid.
Question for you: how do you balance empathy and boundaries?
So what comes to mind is when I first got it, I ended up in prison, and I'll explain that a little bit later. But this part here is when I first got out of prison, I used to say the highest form of self-love. And then boundaries is a form of self-love. Highest form of self-love is self-discipline. Since being out now in psychology and schooling and life, I've come up with this instead. The highest form of self-love is having integrity for your future self while you're in the present. So when you go through something, like there's plenty of times where I got triggered or I have something, I got robbed. Let's just use that. I got robbed. And somebody screwed me over for some money and so on. I reacted and I was justified for my anger and everything else. But what good could it from reacting like that? If I had chosen this action and so on, maybe I could have salvaged a relationship or not affected other people and so on and so forth. So when you move in that way of moving forward, I'm moving with integrity for my future self, so not burning relationships, I'm being more accountable and present minded. Oh my goodness, the things that open up, it's mind-boggling.
What's cool is that you can both fight and not fight.
Absolutely.
Most people can't do both those options.
Well, that's the thing about it. You were talking about people being very complicated, and they're finding. Have you heard about attachment systems?
Styles, right? So a little bit.
Okay. Well, the thing about attachment styles is because I want to focus on trauma, and one of the things is my own personal journey, and I hope is here's something more basic. It's all a nervous system response. You ever experienced something and you made a feeling and in reality, and then you're like, then you make a story, and that's how you, and that's the reason why you did what you did?
That's tough though, because then you could say, well, it was not my fault. It was my nervous system for reacting in that way. Correct?
Well, how many times you personally have done something like that, or a response? You got hurt or sad, and because you had those feelings, the nervous system responds. And then you made a narrative, I was feeling like this, they did this, which made this happen, and so on.
Definitely for anger. Your first reaction is to like fight back. At least for me it is.
Absolutely. I think that is for everybody. And that's what I'm pointing at. So that's one of those things of where I've started in prison for me, unfortunately. So that's why prison was a blessing and a curse. Because it's radical accountability. But I started learning how to retrain my nervous system, going through and it starts with radical accountability. Because at the end of the day, all you can do is, I can't control what you do, Matthew. I can't control what Lilu's doing over there, my service dog. I can't control what everybody's doing. I can influence it, but I can't control it. There's only one thing I can control, and that is myself. I can control how I respond, react, and feel, and choose to react as a whole. That's the whole thing. So then once you realize that, so if I'm choosing to be bored right now, that's my personal choice. If I'm starting to feel bored, I'm like, wait a second. Well, what can I learn out of this? Let's learn about their pressures. What micro-expression are they showing? Let's go into this. Okay, now I'm not bored. I'm choosing to change it.
I mean, that's easy to say, but...
Well, it takes time. It takes time. It's radical accountability. Like, I'm choosing to not do this anymore. Like, if you go through a breakup, when you choose not to go over your ex anymore, when does that happen? Is it right when you're mourning about the ex? Or is it when you start moving forward in creation mode?
Well, how do you balance, you want to make this change with just life's hard and habits and sticking to something and your word? Because humans, we have problems. It's hard to stick to your word.
Well, if you can't stick to your word, It all starts with self-love, right? We're talking about self-love. Well, you have to have self-integrity. And let's talk about when you compromise that self-integrity, what's the first, if you break your word with somebody else, I guarantee you've broken your word to yourself at least 20 times before that.
Dang. Yeah.
So that's the thing about it. I look at systems. I like to look at data points. I look at the things. So that's what I'm talking about. If I look at somebody who's broken their word to me, I'm like, okay, they probably they have this issue. Or if I'm doing this, okay, this is the reason X, Y, Z. So that's one of those things of where I take radical accountability. Oh, I'm not doing this. That's because of this, this, and this. Okay, well, how do I make a change? I literally map it out. It's one of those things like when you did a marathon, right?
Correct.
Okay. Did you just wake up in the morning like, tomorrow I'm going to do a marathon?
Nope. That was like half a year of running constantly.
Okay. But you mapped it out, correct?
Yeah, I mapped out like the schedule, how often to run.
Visualization, target goal, at this date I'm going to run this, right?
Like friend groups, it was all like planned out in that way.
Same concept. Same thing with gym or anything else. It's that visualizing, mapping out, this is my schedule, what am I doing, how do I do it? And as you do that, though, that's one of those things of where I used to have, it's getting better, is I'd be very hard on myself. And then you shame. There's a shame cycle, and it goes bad, and it goes worse, and you keep going. And having self-compassion. And going, okay, well, you messed up. What'd you get out of it? What lesson are you going to extract out of this?
Exactly.
I was dealing with a heartbreak. I remember sitting there. And I'm like, what? And I used to numb, and I'd numb it out. Like I don't want to deal with it. Please, nobody do that. It's terrible. And it always comes back out, and at the worst time.
At the moment for heartbreak, it's tough to not want to numb or escape.
But instead, if you sit back and I'm going to sit here in this feeling, in misery, and extract value. And until I extract the lesson of value from this, I will not move on from it.
Ooh, yeah.
So there's an inner adult and inner child. It's going, I want to run away. I don't want to deal with this. And you're like, no, you're going to extract value. And as soon as we extract value out of this, we can keep moving on. But until then, you're going to sit here and suffer. And that's one of the things I love about with gym and working out and so on, is because you're training your own muscle and body and nervous system to suffer.
Right.
Marathon, you're learning to suffer and grind forward to a progress to a certain destination.
But you're learning, hopefully, from the suffering.
Well,
extracting something there.
Well, that compounds to other values. You know, have you ever done something and from that lesson it taught you something else in a different aspect or in a different way?
But it's like going back in time, you see, like, oh shoot, this happened and that happened.
Variables. So that's why I was talking with trauma, with childhood, and so on, which taught me all these different things. Now, it sucks as a kid and working through those issues and everything else, and I don't wish it on anybody, but now I'm grateful for it.
Okay, so right now, your current Art right now, right?
Okay.
Where do you hope that, like, 70-year-old Art is at in terms of what he knows, lessons, what he's gone through? If he saw you right now, what do you hope for?
If he had to go back in time, like a 70-year-old Art had to tell him current Art something, I'd look at him and go, that it?
That it.
Yeah? Did you show up your best you? Or could you do more? And if so, why and how?
You want to ask him more questions like, how did this go, or? No,
I'd literally be like, did you show up your best you? Because my 7-year-old me already experienced all those things, but I'm still looking at my present self and asking that question. So that's one of those things like I have here that says, be the best you. That's my reminder here. Mm-hmm. I ask myself, that's my mantra right here. I look at it literally every single day, all throughout the day. Am I showing up as my best self? Am I doing the best I can? Am I doing this right? No? Okay, let's make adjustments.
What's that mean in terms of like your goals? Like what do you hope that you have like accomplished?
Overall accomplishment, honestly, like
you have all these goals, right?
Overall, I'll sum it up. When I found my purpose while I was in prison, is I'm going to be a counselor for combat veterans and convicts like myself. Mm-hmm. That's my purpose. I want to help those empathy with that person connection. Because I'll never forget coming back from a combat zone, looking at the shrink and just going, you don't get it. You've never had it. It's like somebody growing up rich and they say, hey, you grew up in the ghettos. just can't get it, or vice versa. It's
Like
just
you've gone through it though. Like now looking to you for help.
And like I go to these peer support groups already with these Vietnam vets, and they look at me like, dude, you've seen combat. We can see it in your eyes. But you're present. You're not numbing. What did you do? These are old men asking me, and I'm just, it's so humbling. And that's my purpose. So the thing about purpose is it's such a powerful thing. And I welcome, everybody should find a purpose to pursue. But there's something even more important. And that's a why. Because the why is what shows up when you don't want to show up. Everything's gone awry. You don't want to. Your body hurts. Life has just hit you on the ground and just dashed your best laid plans. It just bam, bam, and you're just laying there going, why? I had everything in alignment. I was doing all the great things. Why? Back to when I was 15, like, why? Well, the thing is that my why is to be the example. So when I go to help someone with counseling and say, yeah, dude, been there. Dude, I've been homeless. Yeah, I've been this. Dude, I've been there.
Right.
All these hard times coming, I just go, man, you know what? Just helps my relating to somebody else. This just helps me to help somebody else.
And you're now happy, so they can trust you.
But it's amazing. Here's the thing. Did you notice what I just did there? It's a paradigm shift. I'm no longer in victim mode. Now I'm using it as an extraction for value of lesson and move forward.
So that's like your purpose, I guess, is helping other combat.
And the why is to be the example.
Very cool. So hopefully when you're 70, you've helped all these people with like their own trauma and their own experiences.
Exactly. And that's the biggest thing is I want a legacy. If I died at the end of the day, I want to leave a legacy of a betterment for my fellow man. Just as a whole, how did I leave my imprint? What's my eulogy going to look like? What is my eulogy going to look like?
That's the question. We all have our own like biased thoughts of what it should look like, but maybe it's different.
Well, that's the thing. If you have radical accountability, that's the thing about it. So, backtrack. So I got out of the Army, and I got dashed with life, and PTSD flared. There's a certain thing about now I've learned about having structure. Like I see you Tuesday nights for Toastmasters. Now that's my Tuesday non-negotiable. Sorry. Well, I love my systems. Like I wake up at a certain time in the morning. And just because of the Army, it's where I thrived. Well, I didn't have that. And getting out, I didn't have the structures. And guess what? Combat, PTSD, all these different things, and it turned into a very toxic cycle. Alcohol, poor choices of women, I can go on and on. And in that search, I ended up in a motorcycle club, a 1% motorcycle club. For people who don't understand what 1% motorcycle club is, I'm sure you're all familiar with Hell's Angels.
Oh.
Okay. Well, I was in a rival motorcycle club called the Vagos.
The Vagos.
Anyways, and that got me in a situation, and I ended up in prison. Somebody got hurt really bad in front of me, one of the fellow members, and I snapped. And I hurt the guy who hurt him really bad. And I'm just grateful he didn't die. But when I was sitting there in prison, I'll never forget that. And no one's supporting me, by the way. I thought I was popular.
That's tough for the people of prison because it's like there's like groups in there, right?
A lot.
You're like a brand new guy. You're thrown into prison.
It's even worse because I'm on gang terms.
So they all know that you were in a gang, maybe.
I'm on gang terms, but my club's not supporting me. They didn't support me when I got locked up. So I'm casted as an independent, which is even worse. You don't have the support.
You have nothing. Really. Just you.
And I remember I'll never forget, I had over 4,500 contacts in my old phone.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people.
I thought I had big circles, and I had no one. I wasn't even worth the effort for my mother to go get my motorcycle or my items from my ex-girlfriends, and I lost it all.
How were you in prison? Because it was just you. It was different.
Well, that's
There's no structure, maybe.
I made a structure. So that was the thing. I never all my life I always wanted to learn how to meditate. ADHD. Anybody with ADHD and they learn meditate, say they can't meditate, I feel you. And it took me going to prison. I hope you don't have to go to prison to learn to meditate. But I learned to meditate in prison because it was literally a survival thing. Because I'm literally going. If I do not escape, meditate wise. I'm going to snap, and then I'm going to be here for life, or whatever, or die, or anything else. It's a literally life or death situation here.
Right.
I need to do this. I'll never forget going in my head, and I'm like, and I escaped just for, it was like maybe like 30 seconds. I don't even know how long. I'm like, oh.
Like, ooh.
Okay, let's try this again. Oh, and now I can meditate for an hour solid, no problem.
I cannot.
Oh, it's a process, but it literally took a life and death, like.
Or you had to.
And boy, I literally, that was the thing is, even before, during that time frame, I'm dealing with that. I'm trying to get it out, and I wasn't worth the effort. You know that your own family did not, I wasn't worth the effort to go get my stuff.
Is that hard for like Thanksgiving and Christmas when?
Well, the military helped me in that regard.
Did it?
And then I started making my own family. There were certain connections and people. You find like who are making good decisions and who are not, and you start learning to navigate. And I'll never forget. I literally did a radical accountability, and I was in isolation, and I was like, oh, Art, this is all you're doing. You were justified beating that guy in your head, right? Well, cool. What did it solve? Look at you now. You gave loyalty and all this other stuff, and where did that get you? Now your choices of acting in anger or anything else, what did it get you? That's all your choices. Okay, well, let's explore this. Back to solution focus. Well, let's go. I reverse engineer it. Okay, I went to childhood. I went into that inner child, and I started seeing, okay, I have mommy issues. Okay, which perpetuated me to make poor choices in women and partners. Oh, okay, which had these responses. And when you take that radical account, it's so empowering. And then you just go, well, what are you going to do about it?
Right.
Then you get into solution focus. Then you're going, okay, let's look at this. If I had to go back, if I get out, so I started mapping out, if I can get out this time frame and so on, I can do this. Mind you, I should have been a lot longer in prison. That is a spiritual journey, and I'm so grateful to God for it. It's just so funny seeing like a 15-year-old me so mad at God, and then now I'm so
jump, right?
I'm very spiritual, not very theological, but theology is not my. But I understand. It's just I'm very spiritual. Don't get me started on how many times a day I pray, and because like I'll never forget, I had my defense attorney. I asked him, I was like, hey. I had the epiphany because I remember I was like a counselor. I was helping somebody navigate a response. Like, hey, let's look. And he's like, how do you know this? I'm like, I'm living just experience here. And he's like, oh, and I was like, wow, this really resonated with me. And I remember praying so hard. I'm like, hey, if this is me in alignment, God, help me do this. And I started getting a solution. I never forget one of the things was, hey, I need less. They were trying to throw like 9.5 years at me at the time.
Wow. And
I was like, I asked my attorney, I was like, hey, how about I take a lesser crime, go to prison so they get their win, and I bet against myself. Because by math, I should be a repeat offender, and I go back.
Right.
And he's like, I've been doing this for this long, I don't see it happening.
He told you that? Wow.
And I was like, well, you work for me. What's the worst they could do? Say no? 2 weeks later, they took it. All right, I see. Okay. Well, my GI Bill is use it or lose it. I gotta get out by August of 2024. I'm literally seeing this. Like, God, I need help here. I need to get out here this time. And the opportunities I got out August 7th of 2024.
That's perfect timing.
And I started school on August 19th of 2024.
You wasted like no time. You got out of prison and like.
They hit the ground running.
Later, you was going.
Yeah, I was in school that same month.
It's some sort of God's timing or something.
And that's the thing about it. It's my lesson of being out since August 7th, 2024. When I'm getting out and when I'm not in alignment, I'm still trying to chug along. I'm trying. It's like hitting it. Like let's go through this wall. I'm gonna try to get through it with my head. Bah, bah, bah. I'll get through that wall. It's gonna be really painful. It's gonna be a pain in the ass.
Right.
I'll get there. But now I'm learning to, maybe I'm not in alignment. And as soon as I question it and I make some adjustments, little personal things and people and so boom, 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 all these opportunities and everything starts lining up back up. I'm like,
We're taught to like go, go, go and push, but not to like pause and like think about what you want out of life.
But I'm literally learning, like, when it's in alignment, there's so much friction. Doesn't mean that life doesn't have a sense of humor and just dashing your plans.
Right.
Like my GI Bill, like, I thought I was getting vocational rehab and VA screwed me. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, let's instead make adjustments, not excuses. Well, VA will pay for me for doing schooling. If I go work there, it pays almost $10,000 a year. And then if I get my therapist, I just got confirmed.
Oh wow! Congratulations.
I got confirmation that I can now. They'll pay back for student loans now. So I get knocked out when I have my therapist. All those licensing stuff. They'll pay back all the rest of my student loans. Pay it off.
Dang.
Confirmed.
Start working soon, so that's all kind of lining up.
So you know what I mean? Like here I had those vacational, like, and it was really easy. Like old me would probably like, oh, it wasn't in the cards. Give up. No, making adjustments instead of excuses.
Like pivot, you plan yourself.
It didn't work out. That sucks. But you have to make those changes. And that's the one thing, the lessons of people, like, if you got something you really believe in, that purpose, don't give up on it. Make an adjustment, not an excuse. And if it's not, and it's still just not going right, maybe you're just not in alignment and you need to make an adjustments.
I love that. Before we close, you have stuff with dancing, the gym, Toastmasters. Can you teach us something about something you're passionate about? It could be like psychology. It's about something here for the audience.
Teach,
or I'm not sure, whatever you want to do, like your hot takes, whatever speaks to you personally. And it's like a good note here for the podcast.
Life is a series of streams that go into a river. And as you go in that river, there's those crevices and those are experiences. Life is meant to be an experience. It's not supposed to be good. It's not supposed to be bad. It's not ugly. It's an experience. And it's up to you on how you choose to get out of it. Now, if you look at different rivers, you can see rivers that are really have lots of stream heads and they turn really massive, and other ones that just trickle and then dry up. What's your river going to look like at the end of the day?
It's a good question. Wow. Well, and on that note, thank you so much for being here, Art.
Thank you for having me.
To contact you, do you have like socials, like Facebook or?
I do have a Facebook. You can find me at Art Stewart, and I'm about to start. I have my nonprofit and Reforged Phoenix, and it's focused on for convicts and combat veterans.
Is that like opened yet, or you're going to soon?
That is in the works. It's not.
You guys don't know.
As soon as you know, I'll let Matthew know, and then.
That'd be fantastic.
And the concept of Reforged Phoenix is, are you familiar with Damascus steel? Damascus steel is normal steel is you ever seen tool steel? It's very brittle, right? And it shatters. Mild steel, it bends. And Damascus, it might be a series of different types of metal, but it holds the edge good and everything else. And it will shatter too, but it's a lot better sword, weapon, or whatever else. Well, let's look at all your scars. It breaks you down and so on. So you're a series of scars and it rebuilt you and made you a phoenix, because a phoenix is rebirthed and so on. So you look at the Damascus over and over, it's reforged. So that's the whole theme behind that nonprofit.
I like it. Well, very cool. Thank you for being here. Right, Art.
All right, thank you very much.
Appreciative, bro.